My people, welcome back. This session is going to be eye-opening because we will be talking about the passing of a prominent politician in La République du Cameroon, Mr. Ekane. I think that is a popular talking point in the community as we speak. We are also going to look at the differences between Ambazonia and Southern Cameroons, because there is a distinction between Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. So do me a favor, click the subscribe button so that every time a video is uploaded, you are notified. That is your vote of confidence. That is to say, I want to be actively involved in bringing about change. We are also going to take a listen to how our people respond when Francophones ask the question, what is the difference between Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, and La République du Cameroon? Why this clarification is very important. So let's go ahead and take a listen. But there is a lot for you to learn from this video. Let's take a listen.
Okay. Why are you saying that Ambazonian is your country versus La République du Cameroun? Why are you insisting on that difference?
I think it is very clear. Maybe you have not been around for long. You will recognize that Ambazonia has been fighting. The Southern Cameroons has been fighting for the past 9 years. And when we come today to say Ambazonia is where we belong to, is what we fight for, that is to put a wedge between the fact that for 9 years, why the Southern Cameroons fought against what you guys want to fight today. None of you raised your voice to support the Southern Cameroons. That is the problem. And so today when we see French Cameroonians trying to wake up and fight the regime and fight for change and fight for justice, we are like, that is no longer our agenda, because at this moment we have a different agenda. If you succeed, both of us benefit. If we succeed, maybe you guys, you benefit. But I think we have a common enemy, because Ambazonia's fight is not necessarily against the citizens of French Cameroon. It is against the elite. It is against those who have ruled that country for the past 43 years. Those are the people who have entrenched themselves that there can be no change. But we rose up against it. We asked for a return to federalism in 2016. We didn't say Francophones rising up and saying these people are asking a legitimate question. We did not see that. We did not see your musicians compose songs to support Ambazonia. We did not see your elite rise up except Dieudonné Essomba, the only one I know stood up for Ambazonia. Dieudonné Essomba, the only Francophone I can point to who fought for Ambazonia at his own corner. But the rest of you call us Ambazozo, you call us No-So, you gave us different names. That is why Ambazonia sees nothing to benefit in joining you Francophones to fight for your own freedoms when we have.
We sat with Chiroma and we made the decision to call upon all.
My people, that is a very important question. Those from La République du Cameroon want answers to. I pay attention to what prominent figures in our community are saying, because this all by itself shapes the conversation. I started by pointing out that I wasn't pleased with the idea that Chris Anu brought Issa Chiroma Bakari's daughter on his platform. Issa Chiroma Bakari saying in Bamenda Chris Anu is my best friend. I was very bitter about that. This is what I want you to know. I have invested over 300 hours studying legal literature on our case. The resolution 1608 in particular, that document is the document that was issued after the plebiscite. Never forget that. When our people have a conversation like this with La République du Cameroun, we don't have to be emotional. We have to be factual. So, in essence, I've studied the Article 102, which outlined the requirements for joining La République du Cameroun. Do you understand? As well as 76B and the trusteeship status that we still have till today. So, this has brought about clarity on our issue, which we have been missing for the past 65 years. And we have come up with a framework for that. For 65 years. Now, this is what I want you to understand. If we had to hire a legal expert on international law, we will spend nowhere from $150,000 on the work that I have done with my team. Do you understand that? If you had to invest money into guns, oh, people will say, yeah, that's the real man. But I've invested over 300 hours studying specific legal literature on our issue to clear this confusion. This is huge. Now, we've heard about the passing of Mr. Ekane. What we don't understand is La République du Cameroun has a cannibalistic culture. Before we joined them, they had massacred more than 300,000 Bamenda people. Do you understand? So we have to understand the people we are dealing with. When they ask questions like this, clarify them. We don't have any union treaty with La République du Cameroun for the past 65 years. And this is the issue we have because we have Ambazonia in the mix. I'll play a video on that and then we'll clarify that there is a distinction. It's like night and day between Ambazonia and Southern Cameroons. These are different entities. And my goal is to bring the truth about this framework. It's not emotion. We are not debating. That is, if you come from Southern Cameroons, you don't have a choice over this. It's like this is red. Do you see this? It's red. Our status is not debatable. And that is what I will clarify in this video. If you look at this and you say it is blue, they will take you to the doctor for checkup. So what I have diagnosed is the truth that you can verify with the UN. And that is accurate about our status. This is the difference between Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. Southern Cameroons is like you starting life, like we were looking for international recognition. Just the name Southern Cameroons on the table gives us instant international recognition. Some will tell you there was no union treaty, and then they go on to say, oh, we had our independence in 1961, oh, we were a country. All of that confusion. And then, oh, La République seceded from the union, because that is Gojin Dinka's argument. He is the visionary of Ambazonia. So what he says is well documented. That is what he stood for. And I'm bringing clarity to that. That there was no union treaty. We are citizens of La Republic by land acceptance, not by legal legitimacy. This should be the rhetoric we use across Southern Cameroons on this issue. Ambazonia is claiming a union existed. La Republic seceded from that union. So the name Ambazonia. The truth is, Southern Cameroons never signed a union treaty with La République du Cameroon as required by the UN. So based on that standard, we don't have any ratified union treaty with La République du Cameroon. That means there is no one in La République du Cameroon with a signature on paper which indicate we joined them. So when they talk about their federation, they talk about their stars and their flags, all of those are symbols. And they should accompany a ratified union treaty. Without that, we don't even go into the federation. It doesn't make sense. If there was a federation in Cameroon, the UN would have been notified. In the previous video I shared with you, we've looked at all the petitions filed at the UN from 1995 right up to 2021 by Southern Cameroons, by Ambazonia. They were all filed in the wrong department because the case was not framed well. Just listening to some of our leaders in the community speak, I can tell the case they would build, which is the authentic case, will never reach the right department. And that is why we have been in pain. I'm a little bit emotional about this because individuals will go on and give orders for young people to go out there and fight. The biggest hindrance to the progress of Southern Cameroons is Ambazonia, not La République du Cameroon. Because of the wrong logic Gojindinka had about his assumptions of this union. Do you understand? 70% of our problem is inside the house. 20% is with La République du Cameroon. Just 10% is with the UN. So if we address the issues we have inside the house, if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. This was an opportunity to educate this brother that there was no union treaty. Since people go on to say, oh, we are Ambazonians, all of a sudden they say we are Southern Cameroons, and they confuse themselves with that kind of logic. The UN will flag any case you present out there. And you will come on social media to say, oh, people are dying. Why is the UN quiet? Because the world is waiting for you to show up as individuals who said they wanted independence and carry yourself as such. My number is on the screen. Anyone that wants to be part of this transformation, call me. Call me. Because the case we are building against La République du Cameroon, if care is not taken, by the time we are done with that case file, we are going to slide in Ambazonia in there, and we will prosecute everyone that is pushing for Ambazonia. Because the logic is not accurate. That is a faulty foundation. And it is the biggest hindrance to the progress of Southern Cameroons. We never got into a union. So La République and Ambazonia will have to produce that union treaty, which says we got into a union and La République seceded from that union in 1984. So Ambazonia will have to produce that union treaty. If you've seen it, show us. And this will make things easy for us. If not, Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon will have to produce a union treaty to the people of Southern Cameroons. Because as it stands today, our status in the UN says we are still a UN trust territory and we never joined La République du Cameroon. A plebiscite was just an interest to join. Without a ratified union treaty, we never joined. And that makes our case even strong. It's like starting life with money in your bank account, recognized by friends. Everyone knows you. Ambazonia is like starting on the street with nothing and hoping that people get to know you. Do you understand the difference? Now, Southern Cameroons, let's look at this in terms of the categories that we've structured this in. So, we'll look at the aspect, we'll look at the legal origin as well. So, Southern Cameroons was a UN trust territory in 1946. Ambazonia is a political movement that started in 1984, 1985. La République du Cameroun was a French trust territory at independence in 1960. When it comes to international recognition, Southern Cameroons is a UN trust territory. And the last bus stop was Resolution 1608. There is no other legal document added to our file. Ambazonia, at that time known, La République du Cameroun, full UN member state. Now, when it comes to the treaty status, Southern Cameroons, no union treaty signed. It doesn't exist. Ambazonia claims secession without a treaty. La République du Cameroun, no union treaty produced. Current legal status, Southern Cameroons, incomplete decolonization. Ambazonia, political movement. La République du Cameroun, de facto control. They extended their administration into a UN trust territory without a ratified union treaty, in spite of the plebiscite. Sovereignty base, Southern Cameroons, UN trust system. Ambazonia, self-determination claim. La République du Cameroun, state independence. They have the name that they had when they got their independence. Now, territorial definition, Southern Cameroons, clearly defined boundaries. So Ambazonia and Southern Cameroons is like night and day. When you don't understand how the world works, you will punch your heads together and be fighting each other and then hoping that somehow the world will hear you. The world doesn't listen to noise. The world listens to clarity. And that is what I'm bringing to us. La République du Cameroun extends beyond 1960 boundaries. So they extended their administration into our territory. And then the legal continuity, Southern Cameroons, unbroken since 1960. That is what the UN understands about our status. Ambazonia, created decades later. That was in 1985. La République du Cameroun continues since 1960. So that is the status. We'll continue listening to the video. I hope this clarifies us. If anyone in our community files any petition at the UN, we will know. We will know. From 1995 right up to 2021, we have the names, the organizations, and the files of those who placed a petition at the UN and what they wrote in there, and the departments where they filed, and why that case has not been looked into because it was not properly framed and it was filed at the wrong department. And then we come back home and say, white people hate us. And then we push young people to go fight under the name Ambazonia. This is what we have been doing to our community. My people, if you live abroad, you have a good life, everything is cool, so you are not worried. You turn on your camera and you give instructions to those back home, and they go out there and lose their lives. And that is why you don't really bother about this. I don't put my hands on anything that I haven't thought through well. This is no joke. This is no joke. Our people are suffering. They send me pictures every day here. Some committing suicide. Our young men being killed. When we have opportunities, let's do the right thing and help our people.
All the Ambazonian leaders to ask for one, forgiveness for our cowardice, lack of responsibility and solidarity with the Ambazonian. Number one, reparation, okay? And even considering a financial support. Can you hear me there?
I can hear you.
Okay, and a financial support. That number one. And now we also have to tell me if I'm wrong. I think that the Federal Republic, because when I left Cameroon, people were singing, c'est la République fédérale. Soyons tous unis. When I left Cameroon, we were a federal republic. And I guess that because of the oil resources.
When did you leave Cameroon?
1980.
1980. 1980, Cameroon was not a federal republic.
Exactly. I know that it was before I left.
It was before, yes, 1961.
When I was in college, okay? And then I guess that Biya's government wanted to get the oil resources. That was in South Cameroon. That's why he decided to stop the Federal Republic and become La République Unie because of the oil that you guys have.
All right, listen,
So
we don't have time to go into that. The fact is that Francophones knew that all along. Anglophones, as you call it, complain and complain and complain over the years. And when finally they rose up, nobody came to support them. But hold on, let me quickly take this call before you go.
You see, we have to clarify this, people. There is no union treaty. Be factual. This Anglophone, Francophone is the trap they've placed all of us in. And they call you Northwest, Southwest. There is no union treaty. The UN doesn't recognize that federation that brother is talking about. So, brother, there is no federation, and no federation ever happened in Cameroon that the UN recognizes. That is how these two nations would have become one country. It never happened legally. Symbols cannot override law. You teach them that. You see the way he speaks? I told you, you have to educate our Francophone counterparts. They don't know. When they come close, teach them and have the facts. People rarely argue when you present facts. And that is why you see these Western nations work. These nations work. Why? Because the people build their systems on facts, principles. That is why we enjoy when we come over here. They are not speculating. We should not be speculating over the story of Southern Cameroons. You don't have a choice over this as a Southern Cameroonian. There is no union treaty binding us with La République du Cameroon. So you're not legally a citizen of La République du Cameroon by law. So whatever you do as a journalist, it's not different from what a journalist at CNN or BBC does. That is really what you are doing. You are not representing Southern Cameroons in a relationship with La République du Cameroon. You should understand that. These are principles in life people don't understand. They go on and thinking they are doing something to create a union that never existed, or to make a union better, whereas that union never existed. Let's keep listening.
Hello.
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 Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Where are you calling from, please?
Yes. I'm calling from Maryland. Thanks for taking my call. I think I will be the last caller. I wanted to ask a question to our brother. He just went, but let me talk to Emmanuel. Emmanuel, please. I want to give you just one quick advice. If you are on the platform, don't talk anything against Ambazonians. We have gone through a lot. We have really gone through a lot. Just like Comrade Chris was saying, when we were going through all our fights, we were killed, villages burned. You were talking of 3,000 people killed in La République du Cameroon. You may want to ask Comrade Chris how many people have been killed in Ambazonia. When all this was happening, there is no Francophone blogger, no Francophone, even you were nowhere to be found. Here you are here today trying to have us come and help. Please, many Ambazonians are in for this solidarity, but if you want to push like, you putting some blames, asking questions, why are we Ambazonians, why are we this, you are going to tear things apart. You're going to move all the Ambazonians that try to fall on your path, you're going to send them away. Please, you need to be apologetic to us, because a lot has been going on. And for your information, we are a separate country. Thanks again, Chris.
That caller said it. That's our community, a separate country. And he warns the brother, don't say anything about Ambazonia. Educate them. Give them these facts. Explain to them what happened in 1961. The plebiscite and afterwards resolution 1608. You go on to explain to them what 102 required and how that was not fulfilled. How we are not legally bound to La République du Cameroon by any treaty. Facts. He will go back into the community. What if this brother enrolls in the army, or a junior brother of his enrolls in the army? They will send them to the northwest or the southwest, and they will come destroy your people. But if you educate them, he takes something back home. Educate his people. If a young man from his family enrolls in that military, they are coming out there with a different mindset. And that will determine whether they will take that assignment or not. That is the purpose of education. The caller calls, say we were a separate country. Life doesn't work like that. You see, we go before the UN, we speak like that, nothing changes. We come back in our community and we get angry and frustrated. My people, precision. Again, we are building a first world nation, not a third world nation. And our thinking and the way we articulate has to follow that precision.
Thank you.
Now, we'll listen briefly to Goji Dinka. That is why I always go back to the founders, because they had a vision. And before you pick up the name Ambazonia, understand what the visionary stood for.
raise down the whole gendarme barrack.
So before you encourage people to pick up a gun, make sure you understand what the visionary stood for. If you can't explain the story of Southern Cameroons, go on to explain to that Francophone brother the story Gojin Dinka believed in about Ambazonia before creating that name. So if you didn't share the story of Southern Cameroons, you should have shared the story of Ambazonia, because these are two distinct entities with different parts.
With they raise it with fire. Now, you're a young man, and time has come for you people to pick up the gun and pursue this fight to the logical conclusion. Thank you very much.
The call to action from Gojin Dinka was clear. You're a young man, it is time to pick up the gun and follow this case to its logical conclusion. This was after the name was changed from the United Republic of Cameroon to the Republic of Cameroon, or La République du Cameroun, in 1984. That is where he coined out the name Ambazonia and encouraged people to go out there and claim their territory, with the assumption that La République, having returned that name, was seceding from a union he thought existed. But since there is no union treaty, we don't have to deal with Ambazonia. We are dealing with Southern Cameroons, which is even stronger, and not Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia. No. That is why we mix this. Even when we communicate, we say Southern Cameroons, some will say Southern Cameroons, and then they say Ambazonia, just to make sure that they are not wrong. Our authentic story is Southern Cameroons, the UN trust territory, with no union treaty with La République du Cameroun. Law, this will bless us black people, just being authentic with facts. Let's listen some more.
Followed my lecture right there. The country that has seceded from union is La République du Cameroun, which has seceded. They declared their secession on February the 4th, 1984. It is they who have seceded. And we say you must follow your secession to the logical conclusion by pulling out of Amazonia, or we have to stage a liberation war. It's a decolonization, not a secession. We are trying to decolonize ourselves from a secessionist country which is imposing its rule on us after they have seceded.
So his premise was clear. And this is what I look at. I listen to the visionaries. If you want to succeed, listen to the visionary. Make sure you understand what he stood for. Now, somebody raised a series of concern, and I thought I'd clarify that. Somebody raised a concern about the Banjul case. That is the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. That Gojin Dinka took the case to the Bamenda High Court. My people, there is no union treaty. So it makes no sense going to the Bamenda High Court to say La République seceded from a union that never existed. I want you to step back and reason this. This is how the world looks at us when we go around with these ideas. They might allow you to live in their countries and say these things, but the UN looks at you and they are watching you, and you said you wanted independence and you don't understand your story. You are waiting for them to tell you your story. Some say they are waiting for the UN to do it for them. No, we were asking for independence, not dependence. We had to play our own part. Resolution 1608 outlined what we ought to do. From 1961 to 1995, that is the time Foncha went to the UN. What were you doing from 1961 right up to 1995? So someone cited the Banjul case, that after that he went to Banjul, we won the case. So they say we won the case. And here's the truth about what happened in Banjul. Banjul recognized Southern Cameroons as a distinct people. It criticized Cameroon's human rights abuses. It ordered dialogue and reforms. I told you, each time you take your problem to the wrong jurisdiction, they will always encourage you at the end of the day to go dialogue with La République du Cameroon. That is why you hear dialogue with Paul Biya. Our people have been screaming, let Paul Biya solve this problem. I'm saying Yaoundé doesn't have jurisdiction over this case for the first time in the history of Southern Cameroons. The UN organized the plebiscite. The UK, Britain, was the administering authority. These are the only two entities that have jurisdictional power over this case. It was not La République du Cameroon and the UN that organized the plebiscite. So without a signature from Ayijo on a paper with Southern Cameroons and Britain ratified and registered at the UN, we don't have any business with them. So when we are confused this way, we mess up everything. And yet we are screaming, we need help. And we can't be clear about our status. So that is what happened at Banjul. So Banjul did not declare Southern Cameroons a sovereign state. When you say we won the case, they acknowledged who we are at Banjul. I'm sure they didn't tell you this. They encouraged dialogue. So it did not address Resolution 1608. This is our bread and butter. This is what we have been studying. Banjul did not touch Article 102, treaty filing, that the treaty had to be ratified, registered at the UN. Banjul never touched that. Banjul did not rule on the legality of La République's presence in the Southern Cameroons. Banjul did not dissolve or alter the trusteeship status. Nothing changed. So, regional human rights ruling does not change international treaty obligations or sovereignty questions. Education is what will free us, my people, nothing else. So only the UN and treaty law can address that. So the Banjul case is not a sovereignty case. It's a human right case. Some talked about the Abuja case as well. I thought I'd touch on that and then we'll move on. Nigeria recognized Southern Cameroons. That's what some say. That is not true. There was a question asked in Nigeria. I'm sure our people haven't shared that with you. Now, a group filed a case inside Nigeria. Again, I said Nigeria doesn't have the jurisdictional power. Banjul doesn't have the jurisdictional power. The African Union doesn't have the jurisdictional power over Southern. Yaoundé doesn't have the jurisdictional power over this case because it has to do with the trust territory. What you say about your story, people will give you advice, direction, and guidance based on what you say. If you don't understand your story, you can only say what you think based on your understanding of your problem, and you'll be given wrong medication. So Southern Cameroons are distinct. Abuja acknowledged that they deserve certain freedoms while in Nigeria. And I think you see some people went on to have asylum in Nigeria and all that. So what did not happen in Nigeria is It did not recognize a new country, like we were a separate country. So we were a nation, we were a UN trust territory. Use the right vocabulary. And that is why I encourage us to speak in English and not pidgin. Because there is no word even in pidgin as nation. We only have country in pidgin. So when you tell people there is a difference between a nation and a country, they are confused. Because in pidgin English, we only have country, our country. A country must have an army. A country must be able to negotiate its foreign affairs. We didn't have that. Britain was the administering authority. We were a nation, but not a country. When you speak that way, diplomats understand. You file a case saying Southern Cameroons was a country, they understand instantly you don't know what you're talking about. Hence, they will tell you, you guys are not fit for independence because you can't even understand your status. How can we allow you to go on to become a country that you have to deal with other nations or other countries when you don't even understand your status? We have to demonstrate that we are competent, we understand what is going on, and so we can lead ourselves. That is the first step towards independence. For how many years, my people, we are still hearing people saying country. So Nigeria did not touch Resolution 1608. You see why I keep focusing on that document? Resolution 1608, because that is where everything stopped. Not a union treaty, La Republic extending their administration into a UN trust territory. Everything stopped at Resolution 1608. So Abuja did not invalidate La Republic's claim. It did not decide sovereignty. And so they come back to the community, they say, oh, we went to Nigeria, we won the case. So a foreign domestic court cannot determine international borders, sovereignty, union treaties, UN trusteeship status. A foreign domestic country cannot decide that. So the Abuja ruling is symbolic, not legally binding at the UN level. Some talk about the Bamenda court cases. People often say we won in Bamenda High Court. Really? So let's be honest, my people. Bamenda High Court can rule on local issues, local rights, administrative matters. Bamenda High Court cannot rule on the legality of La Republique's presence. UN resolutions, treaties, sovereignties, trusteeship laws. Bamenda High Court cannot rule over these issues. So a domestic court of a country that is in itself the accused party has zero authority or zero jurisdiction to decide an international dispute. So all these courts they told you they went to has zero jurisdictional power to preside over the case of Southern Cameroons. And again, La Republique never seceded from a union because a union treaty never existed. This is international law. So when they talk about the Bamenda High Court passing a ruling over this case, it's impossible. It's impossible for the Bamenda High Court to preside over a case of this magnitude. Because those courts were established by La Republique du Cameroon when they extended their administration into our territory illegally without the UN's approval. Because a union treaty and the completion of the decolonization process was what would have given La Republique du Cameroon the right to extend their administration. So it's like asking a court and a judge owned by a thief to pass a ruling over the house he stole. That is, somebody stole your stuff. They own the court, they own the judge, and you want them to rule over that case. Doesn't make sense. All those administrative systems set up across Southern Cameroons is from La République du Cameroon, even though we practice the common law. Do you understand? Let's keep watching.
Have this in your mind and not to hit back at those who say you are sensationalists. They are the sensationalists. They have seceded, and we are asking them to pull back, having seceded. Thank you. The purpose of this is that if we are going asking for international help, the problem has got to be presented as an international violation of sovereignty. If you say Cameroon has violated the sovereignty of Amazonia, you have made a case before United Nations or before any other state. But when you say Cameroon has violated the sovereignty of Cameroon, they ask you, go and have a doctor to check your head.
I usually promise that we will.
Now let's listen to Foncha. Then you will understand what I'm sharing with you. We are in big trouble, my people. We are in big trouble. We have been in this for years. In the description, I've placed a link in there. So you click that link and go read that framework. It is trademarked. That means you can read it, you can share it, but you have to reference me. Because we have people in the community that their interest is not the betterment of those back home that are in pain. They just want to be known. And so they'll grab something that they don't understand just so that people can see them. And that kind of an ego, brother, I've said, let's bury down this pride. So click that link and go read the framework for this argument. It's like red, which is the authentic story we are dealing with when it comes to Southern Cameroons. It is trademarked. So if you use it, you have to reference me. Because we are in a community where people enjoy the pain that our people are going through. So they see an idea like this. They are not thinking of how can we join? How can we come together? Even with my phone number there, pride and ego. They can't call to connect and see what role they can play. They want to grab what they don't understand. They are hearing this for the very first time, placed this way, and so they want to run with it. And they will mess up everything for us. Because one wrong file on this case will mess up everything for us. So if you have a friend in the community that encourages you to go file a petition on this case, tell them, no, brother, I won't work with you. If they put the name Southern Cameroons, tell him, remain with your ambassador. They will mess up everything for us. Remember, 70% of this fight is inside the house. If there is no enemy inside, the enemy outside can do us no harm. 20% of the fight is with La République du Cameroon. 10% is with the UN and UK. They won't know the right department to file. They don't understand what we are adding inside this file to make it strong so that we can be able to have our freedom. They don't understand that. They just want to be seen. And so if you do that, because whatever petition you file at the UN, we can retrieve that file and know who filed. I say from 1995 to 2021, we've been able to retrieve the data of everyone and the organizations and what they filed at the UN. And we could see all the mistakes in their filing. So if you do that, we will know. And trust me, brother, every information that we are putting out here is trademarked. So if you do that, we will make money off you. I know how the Ambazonia energy looks like. People double cross you, you come on social media, you debate with them. No, we won't go that route. We'll make money off you and use that money to continue this project. Trust me, brother. When we hit it, it works. This thing has to stop. We can't go on like this. Some hear what I'm saying here, they rush out there, they want to start another organization to continue this confusion while our people are in pain. We know that your intentions are not good. Because you live abroad. So you don't know what these people are going through back home.
Coming back officially, coming back in August to read and sign. In August, as I was the Prime Minister of Southern Cameroon, we were dealing only with an interim federal government or an interim members of the house which we subscribed, but there was no parliament so called before the 1st of October. And if he using that one to talk something about the federation to be born on the 1st of October, and to the best of my knowledge, it did not appear to me that that was going to precede the legalization of the draft constitution. So the very August, I had to go back to him and remind him about the resumed constitution.
By August, he went to Amado Ayijo to remind him of the draft constitution. You've heard of the exchange of notes. That was a diplomatic invoice. Britain was notifying La République du Cameroon, our flags are going down on October 1st. The statute of limitation was October 1st. After October 1st, 1961, we can't ratify a union with La République du Cameroon based on the plebiscite that happened in 1961. So the statute of limitation is over. Do you understand what we are dealing with here? That is what makes our case so good. For us to follow 76B and complete this process and build a country. This fight is the least thing I'm worried about. The building of that nation. Again, we are building the first world nation in Africa, and we are going to follow frameworks, not guesswork. China works because they follow frameworks. The Chinese Communist Party is made up of predominantly engineers, not theorists, not people who come from the social science department. Scientists. There is little argument. 30 centimeters is 30 centimeters. We all agree. 1 + 1 is equal to 2. We all agree. They use precision. Just like when you're driving, when you see the red light, it is a red light. Stop. There is no argument. The green is go. There is no argument. What I'm presenting before us is the accurate mathematical equation of our status. It's no debate. You call the UN, they will tell you exactly what I'm telling you here about our status. It's not some guesswork like what Gojin Ninka was saying. That La République seceded from a union. There was no union. We come from a society where we don't know how to honor contracts. So we think, oh, you can just talk with someone. It was a gentleman's agreement. There is nothing like gentleman's agreement in international law. Did you sign the contract? No. Then there is no contract. Even in marriage, you go and sign a contract to get married. What makes you think two nations will come together to create a country and there is no union treaty and then you assume it was a gentleman's agreement? It doesn't work like that. So our people have been in pain because we haven't taken the time to study the resolution 1608 and explain to our people their status. The energy for this movement would have been different. If you continue with Ambazonia, you will have very few Anglophones or Southern Cameroonians get involved. Number two, you will never have international support because no country on earth in their right senses will recognize Ambazonia. It doesn't make sense at all. When we have Southern Cameroons, a territory with a status which says incomplete decolonization, and then you come around that with Ambazonia, that La République seceded from a union. I want you to imagine the insanity. You guys go sit back, study. Again, click that link in the description. Go read that framework. When you come together in the group, wherever you are in the diaspora, if you are from Southern Cameroons, go study that in your groups and humble yourselves. That is all I can say.
Not answer me in September. I reminded him, but unfortunately on 1st of October, I used the draft to declare federation and unification, which did not finish and must come back.
So he used the draft constitution to declare federation and the union, not a reunification that they are celebrating on 20th May. Everything about their system is off. So when they come to you, educate them. They picked up some idea that we were part of German Cameroon, so that German colony was a country, and so we reunited. You educate them on history and words and what context to use, which word. You can say a German colony is the same as a UN trust territory. Teach them that. Don't assume they know. And that is what we have been doing. We want to dialogue Pobia. We assume Pobia knows because he studied public law in France in the 60s. He doesn't know. His behavior tells me he doesn't know. Because when people act, I watch their behavior and I'm like, this individual doesn't know. I always assume they don't know. That makes me humble, calm to teach. Because if I assume they know, now I become aggressive. So always assume people don't know. And then you teach. When they reject knowledge, you start understanding, oh, this individual has some character issues. We start dealing with that. Now we can categorize them either a coward or they're compromising. So when they're justifying, we correct them. That is how we build a society. That's why if you violate the red light, you get a ticket. They don't debate with you. There's no argument with that. Before you get into a car, they assume you've had your driver's license. So that means you have the information. So when you violate, you get a ticket. It either comes in the mail or the policeman stops you and gives you the ticket. That is why these societies work. Because they are built on principles. So just like I'm saying, someone messes up what we are building for their ego or personal gains, we are going to apply the law. Those who are close to me, because those in our community will be the ones that want to play with you because they think you come from them. I don't play with those around me. I know they are the ones that will take my leniencies for granted. And my friends and loved ones, they know that. And some have done this in the past, and I correct them, even within the family, so that there can be some order and we can make progress. Because you have good intentions to see everyone make progress while others are suffering. Some will have ego. This is what we have been going through. And thousands of people have died. And now I'm bringing about clarity. Instead of cooperating, you want to create another group and continue. Brother, that is evil. I just want to let you know. And we won't tolerate that. I'm watching. My team is out there monitoring the community. If you mess up things for our people, we are going to add Ambazonia in this petition. you should understand that Ambazonia is illegal in Southern Cameroons. Based on the story, you will have to prove to the people of Southern Cameroons, if you are an Ambazonian, that there was a union treaty between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon, and how La République du Cameroon seceded from that union, and you will provide that union treaty to us. This is the dilemma we have been in. Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, doesn't work like that. These are two different entities. That's why you're running around looking for recognition. Whereas with Southern Cameroons, we have recognition instantly.
There things went wrong, and by the 64, he had already made up his mind, scattered the, and already more or less got into the main cadre of the KNDP and tried to scatter all and made some other laws, which would make him the supreme president.
Cameroons.
I told you, Amado Ayijo had an education equivalent to Form 3, was a radio operator, got into politics. So there are many things he doesn't know. We teach. Foncha had an equivalent of Form 5 education, went on to have his teacher training license, then got into politics, but did not understand the impact of not signing that union treaty. But he tried, and we can hear that on video. And when we verify with the UN, what he said and what we see at the UN, it's accurate. So this is not something we are debating. All Foncha is doing is confirming what we see at the UN, that there is no union treaty. And he tried to get Ayijo to sign that union treaty. He used the draft constitution to declare union. We've been clamoring Fumban even in the community, talking about Fumban. Oh, Fumban, they sold us a Fumban. An enmity between the Northwest and the Southwest because of Fumban. Nothing happened at Fumban. It was supposed to be a negotiation. The treaty was never ratified. You can verify that at the UN. Do you understand? This case is so easy, but very technical at the same time. That is why we have to be very careful. Our wordings, everything, precision, no mistakes.
Also in Western Africa, attached to Nigeria. Population, 1.5 million. The problem? 1960 has been set for the date when the French Cameroons becomes an independent country. This has been settled and agreed upon. But in the British Cameroons, the issue is not so clear. This territory has been administered in conjunction with Nigeria, which itself is to become independent next year. The northern part of the British Cameroons wants to join with Nigeria.
Are you hearing that story? This is an old footage of the entire process. La République was certain, and they got their independence in 1960. They've cooked up the history they teach the people of La République du Cameroon. It's sad. Do you understand? Have you bought a history book from La République du Cameroon and read and just see what are they teaching their own people? Because we think this is all about the guns, fighting the government. No. Education is the biggest form of warfare. Educating even your counterparts. When you meet an average francophone, that is the individual that will get into the army, get a gun, and come down to Southern Cameroons to hurt our people. Every opportunity you have with them, is to educate them. And that is what I said. Some of us that speak French fluently would have been transmitting some of the messages I'm sharing and educating our Francophone counterparts. Education is the biggest form of warfare. If you can control what people think in this world, you control their life. So because they control their people, they put guns in their hands and they say these people are enemies, they come down there, they have all the moral authority to destroy you. And you say, oh, no, we are fighting with the government. I mean, who is the government? Is it not just people that you see every day? That they go in there, get a job, get a gun, and come down there? They told their people. They have indoctrinated their people and told them completely different things from what we know about the real situation. And so when they put a gun to their hands, they come down there, they really act viciously towards us. They say we are the enemies in the house. Because we reunited, because we're part of the German colony.
In the southern sector, opinion sharply divided. One group wants to join the French Cameroons, the other, Nigeria. In this conference room this morning are representatives of both points of view. One of them is Prime Minister Ahmed Ahidjo of the French Cameroons. He has brought his interpreter with him this morning. I'm going to ask the question and the interpreter will in turn ask Dr. Ahidjo. Would you give us your view on the problem which is currently before the General Assembly, sir?
Est-ce que, Monsieur le Président, vous voudriez leur donner votre point de vue au sujet du problème qui, à l'heure actuelle, est débattu par l'Assemblée générale?
Actuellement, il est question des deux Cameroun, sous tutelle française et britannique. Bien entendu, je suis les deux questions avec une grande attention, mais l'on comprendra que j'attache l'importance primordiale à la question du Cameroun français. Des résolutions sont déposées sur le bureau de la 4e commission et la commission déposée par les États-Unis, Haïti, l'Italie et d'autres nations ont reçu notre adhésion. Et j'ai l'espoir que cette résolution sera votée par la 4e commission et par l'Assemblée générale.
The Prime Minister says that, of course, he is here to follow the debate on both the French and British Cameroons, but it is understandable that he's more interested in the fate of the French Cameroons, of which he is the Prime Minister, and he says that various resolutions have been submitted to the 4th Committee, and he hopes that the resolution submitted by 5 nations, including the United States and Italy and Haiti, New Zealand, will receive the majority vote in the 4th Committee.
So he was there on behalf of his people. We are going to listen to Fonja speak. But he was there to follow the debate. He was representing his people. He said, I'm here to represent my people, French-speaking Cameroonians. But they went on to indoctrinate their people. And by default, we have been indoctrinated with the wrong history since then till today. Do you understand? There's a lot of work for us to do.
Thank you very much, sir. Another very important voice to be heard from is Prime Minister J.N. Foncha of the British Cameroons. How do you feel about this situation, sir?
I wish to thank the members of the United Nations television branch for having given me this opportunity to express my impression of the United Nations General Assembly convened purposely to hear Cameroon's future. Before I leave for the Southern Cameroons, I wish to express my deepest appreciation for the kind and friendly dispositions of everyone I have met the United Nations. This opportunity has given me to thank them all, not only for myself but also for my honorable colleagues. The friendly atmosphere which characterizes the day-to-day business of the United Nations is in itself a contributing factor to the solution of the problems confronting the countries of the world. The solution of the difficulties delaying the progress of independence to the Cameroons as a whole has made good progress in view of the fact that the distinguished representatives are understanding what we want. The consideration to postpone some of the points presenting difficulty is a move in the right direction in view of the fact that before the 14th session assembled, more important information will be available.
So that was Foncha. We never legally joined La République du Cameroon. Never forget that. We have one of the most unique cases in Africa. We have never worded it correctly before the war. We haven't. We haven't followed the right framework since 1961 to explain to the world what is going on with us and our people. Now, we have no legal power in La République du Cameroon. So Southern Cameroonians know that. Whether you're acting consciously or unconsciously, you don't have any legal power. And the spirits of your ancestors can't be with you getting involved in issues that has to do with La République du Cameroon that extended their administration illegally into Southern Cameroons without a union treaty. So that is the hardest part, even for some elders in our community to accept, based on what I've heard them say. You can speak French, you can work in their ministries, you can carry their passports, you can raise their flags, you can vote in their elections, but none of that gives La République legal authority over you. Do you understand? This is how the world works. This is how God works. God is a God of laws. A union treaty was never signed. Article 102 was never filed. Britain withdrew before the treaty existed. And after October 1st, 1961, the process legally expired. Again, let me repeat that. Britain withdrew before the treaty existed, and after October 1st, 1961, the process legally expired. So if something does not exist in law, you cannot activate it through emotions. Let me repeat that again. If something doesn't exist in law, you cannot activate it through emotions. Some of our people still look to men who walked inside the regime. They look to people who are old. They look to those with connections. I've listened to them all. They are saying we have tried everything and nothing is working. And I'm letting us understand, because we haven't ever understood our story. until now that I'm bringing about this clarification. But the real change in history has really come from those who built or protected the old system. When America transformed, it wasn't the British loyalists who led it. So some of you are waiting. Oh, Issa Chiruma comes from there. He said he understands the system, so you beat the system. Now he's in Gambia. He's on exile. We always rely on those who have been inside, connections, the older ones. That is why our own systems are the way they are. America was not built by those who were working for Britain. It was built by fresh minds, people who were hungry for change. So it wasn't built by British loyalists who led it. It was new minds. New minds. When Singapore rules, it wasn't the old colonial officers who built the future. It was young, clear, disciplined thinkers. So young people, save time. All this energy behind old people. Before you notice it, you have gray hair. And we'll turn around, look at you. I have no empathy. I'll be sorry for you, but I understand. And that is how we come before these Western nations, or we go to the UN and we don't create our files the right way. They look at you. They will listen to you. They will empathize with you, but they won't get involved if you don't even understand what is going on with you. So, experience inside a broken system does not produce vision. That is why I call this from inception the illusion of change. It was the illusion of change. I could say it because I saw it. When someone shows up with a vision, I can tell. That's why I say I stopped giving advice on this platform. I want to see what they get to do. But I know exactly what Issa Chiruma Bakari would have done. It only produces familiarity. That is why he got scared, because he came from that same system. Now, TikTokers, YouTubers are trying to bring about precisions. Got someone at the age of 83 to become a spokesperson. And this is what we have. And we must stop giving spiritual authority to people simply because of age or past positions. This is the difference between the Third War and the First War. So we cannot accuse La République du Cameroun of breaking the law while we act as though the law doesn't matter. Let me repeat that again. We cannot accuse La République du Cameroun of breaking the law while we act as though the law doesn't matter. I've placed before you the law of your status. You reject this. And then you want La République du Cameroun to obey the law and grant you victory as a Southern Cameroonian that has no legal binding treaty with La République du Cameroun, some victory over an election that happened in their country. I mean, someday you'll be shocked when you think about what I'm saying here and you see how crazy it is. Investing energy in La République du Cameroun. So some of us still participate in La République's politics. Some still speak as though we are their citizens. So it comes out of your mouth. Some still behave like their courts and their ministries define our future. We want to dialogue with Pobia. You must act as a free person. Think as a free person before you become truly free. And some will put some empathetic face, tell you, oh, we are all Africans. We are trying to be one. I was talking to a young man from Ghana. He was shocked to hear our story. He can't relate. This color of the skin is the biggest trap for us. You go to Asia, the Chinese man doesn't look at the Japanese man like that. You go to Europe, the French man doesn't look at the German man like that, even though they have long nose. You come to Africa, we are all one because we have the same color. Some walked around and told me, oh, we are all equal. I say, equal? What do you mean by equal? In size, height, education, what? Or what do you mean by we are equal? Oh, someone will look at you and say, oh, because you come from Cameroon, or you come from the Tika land, you come from Southern Cameroons, and so we are equal. Keep that delusion on the side. Equal by what standard? What are we equal in? Because we look alike, we have the same complexion. The brother from Ghana was shocked to hear our story. He could not relate. Chinese people all eat rice. If you look at most Asian countries, they all eat rice. They like rice, but they are different. And they know it. A German man knows who he is from a French man. A Chinese man knows who he is from a Japanese man. In Africa, we know, but we want to pretend as though we don't understand that you can tell the difference between even an Igbo man and a Yoruba man. You can tell just by looking at them. All this, and we don't really come together like that. Even in the diaspora, we don't really come together like that to do things together. We don't do that. Just because of pain, colonialism and slavery and slave trade, that is the only thing that brings us together. We have to start really defining our pain. That is a brother from the Francophone zone and doesn't know the history, doesn't know what we have been going through for 9 years. And the same country. We have to be pragmatic. If not, we will look around like this for 50 more years and then blame the white man. So God cannot bless chaos. Don't ever blame God. Don't. I'm seeing our community. I'm looking at what is going on in our community. Don't ever blame God. I'll never go to heaven and blame God for our conditions. Because you put our content and I see people's behavior. God cannot bless confusion. He cannot bless chaos. God cannot bless a people who refuse to accept the identity He allowed history to give them. La Republic has a cannibalistic culture. I'm not saying that's their DNA, but that is what they are manifesting. Their system is cannibalistic. Look at the UPC era. Look at the killings in the 60s. Look at what happened with this man, this politician, in prison. And many of our people, thousands that have been killed. But our people wake up in the morning and they still think, even after seeing the facts, that somehow that country will change. And yet some of us still say we are brothers. Skin color does not make you brother. Skin color does not make you brothers. Shared pain does not make you partners. A legal identity does. And every nation must stand on the identity given to it through law, history, and covenant. The statute of limitation was October 1st, 1961. You can't ratify a union treaty today based on that plebiscite. A treaty had to be signed before October 1st, 1961. It wasn't. The door closed. Nothing can be created retroactively. A plebiscite cannot substitute a treaty. A handshake cannot replace a contract. Dialogue cannot create a union that legally expired 64 years ago. This is why pushing to talk with Paul Biya is just useless. And again, it's not just useless, it is unlawful. It is unlawful to dialogue with Paul Biya. If you didn't know that, hear that for the first time. It gives the illusion that he has jurisdiction. And that is how you cage yourself, and then you turn around tomorrow, put your friends together, and then say the white man is a problem. I'm seeing our behavior. Tomorrow, I won't take it lightly with those who want to go around this white man story in our community. Because ignorance and emotion rules us. We find comfort in conspiracies. So, La République du Cameroun has no legal authority over Southern Cameroons, not Ambazonia, over Southern Cameroons. When you understand the history of Southern Cameroons, it is madness thinking about Ambazonia. Do you understand? Because Ambazonia assumes a union existed. The name changed, was secession. La République seceded from the union, and so we assume our identity. That's the logic. So when you think of the idea, we never had a union treaty, it doesn't make sense even saying we seceded from a union. I want you to understand. So when you go before foreign diplomats and you explain your story, you go on to explain the federation and how the federation was dissolved, and you go into the clause of the draft constitution that was never ratified and registered at the UN. Brother, this is what we should benefit because we speak English. This system has run the world for 300 years. It's all about precision, structure, and a certain way of doing things. Diplomacy, trade, law, science, technology, biotechnology. So we have to stop looking at old men from La République's era in politics. We have to stop waiting for people who walk inside the old system. We have to stop expecting the oppressor to bless our liberation. Our future depends on new minds, new discipline, new understanding. So Southern Cameroons, wake up, know who you are, stand where the law places you. Do not add to your own suffering by acting as citizens of a country that has no treaty with you. There are some who are encouraging violence, ghost towns, because it has to do with La République du Cameroun, and they never advocated for that when it has to do with Southern Cameroons. Again, God will never bless disorder. So clarity, not confusion. Courage, not fear. Because the truth is very simple. We were never united with La République du Cameroun. We have stayed in bondage because of ignorance, not law, and it's time to break that ignorance once and for all.